Hey, welcome back to another top 10 best Pokemon TCG meta decks video. Today we're going to be covering the top 10 decks for the month of February. We have 3 decks I want to mention, kind of like honorable mentions before we dive into the top 10. So we'll start off with the first one, which is a new deck that just came out with Paldean Fates. It's a personal list I'm actually cooking up, and it is a great deck to play against Charizard with because it does hit for grass weakness. We of course are talking about Espathra EX. This deck is really fun to play. It gets to utilize some really great psychic Pokemon, including Mimikyu, the Xatu engine. You get to use supporters like Tulip as well, but you have Espathra as a baby form, which is immune to damage and effects, and then you have Espathra EX, which is also an annoying Pokemon to play against as well, forcing your opponent to have an extra energy on their Pokemon to attack. Combo that with the actual attack that it has, and it is a really sort of control-esque style of deck. I'll be playing this at a couple of locals over the next couple of weeks to see how it fares. It does have a pretty good matchup against Charizard. The other fun deck that I've been tweaking, which I've been really enjoying because it's going to be the last couple of months we get to play it before it rotates out officially, is Gengar VMAX. With Mew VMAX raising in popularity, decks, that feature Judged Path are really good. This deck features, of course, Gengar, Houndoom, and Bidoof for Barrel as the draw engine, but we also have the new inclusion from Paradox Rift, the TM, the Technical Machine Evolution. The deck is really fun to play, and we're currently in a meta where a lot of decks want to go second, and so going first as this deck is kind of optimal, I gotta say. But if you do want to steal second from your opponent, you do have the option to Evo TM as well. So one last ride with Gengar VMAX. It might be a really good meta call, especially because of the abundance of Mew players trying to squeak in some last couple of games before rotation hits. And again, Mew VMAX actually just won the most recent regional in Liverpool. So hey, if you like Gengar, if you want to give it one last ride, then give this list a shot. This is my personal list, which is doing pretty well right now. Last but not least, the final honorable mention. It was really close to putting it at number 10, but we're going to give it to Rapidstrike Urshifu VMAX, or just Rapidstrike Toolbox. Rapidstrike is also going to be rotating out once rotation hits us later in April. The list I'm sharing with you guys right here came in 36th place at the regional event in Liverpool, played by Curtis Broughton King. One really notable thing is that this list doesn't respect Mew at all. There's no Spiritomb, and there's no Drapion in it. So I don't know if they played against any Mews and how those matches fared, but Rapidstrike is honestly a pretty solid meta call deck in the game right now. It has pretty fair matchups against a lot of the top decks, but it's one of those decks that can have a really hard time setting up, and it can really brick hard, and those bricks are like game losing bricks at the start of the game. So number 11, or you could say the honorable mention, goes to Rapidstrike Toolbox. Another quick deck list I want to show you guys came in 24th place at the Charlotte Regionals, played by Alex Krugler, who's been piloting Rapidstrike to a bunch of the recent regional events and doing very well with it. So he's definitely a well-trusted Rapidstrike player who does have Drapion in the list as well to respect those Mew matchups. And also, if it wasn't obvious yet, we will be giving you guys 1 to 2 deck lists for each of these lists, and if you guys want to fast forward, I will have timestamps available on screen that you can click, so feel free to come back to this video later on, hit that like button down below as well so it doesn't punish me in the algorithm for giving you guys timestamps. And yeah, let's get on to the actual top 10 best decks for February 2024. Coming in at number 10 is a deck that I think will also be one of the best decks post-rotation. We have Chien-Pao EX with Baxcalibur. So this first list I'm sharing with you guys was played by Jake Malander at the most recent regional at Liverpool, and they got 14th place, which is really high. I think one of the highest placing Chien-Paos we've seen in a long time. The list that we have here does feature Iron Hands and of course 1 Lightning Energy, and for a more streamlined approach with only water energies and water Pokemon or ice Pokemon in this nature, we got Regan Retzloff with his list right here that came in 58th place at the Charlotte regional event. Chien-Pao is a really fun deck to play, and it also has a fantastic matchup against one of the best decks in the game right now, Charizard EX. So if you haven't given Chien-Pao a shot just yet and are thinking about considering it for post-rotation, you might want to pick up the cards soon before they spike up in price, because I do see Chien-Pao becoming, I think, one of the top 5 decks after rotation later in April. Coming in at number 9 is a deck that I've been meaning to build. We have Gholdengo EX. First list I'm sharing with you guys right now came in 3rd place out of 2,800 players at the Champions League in Kyoto, played by Kazuki Takahashi. And then if you want to see a list that is more shaped up for the North American meta, here is the list that came in 30th place at the Charlotte Regionals, played by Jarek Gumela from the Shuffle Squad. The biggest differences between these two lists is that the Kyoto list does feature Feebas and Milotic, which does protect protect your hand from disruption cards like Iono and Roxanne. However, Jarek's deck right here doesn't have that, and instead features Spiritomb to really kind of counter those Charizard decks, Mew out there as well, and just, you know, anything that does have some V Pokemon included in it, because there's no V Pokemon played in Gholdengo, so it's a really strong inclusion. Coming in at number 8, we have Snorlax Control. Yes, Snorlax has at least fallen down in popularity due to the rise of Giratina, because Giratina is a really strong matchup against it, and Charizard players are slowly dwindling in numbers. I say slowly with an asterisk, because there's still a lot of Charizards. Charizard is still one of the most played decks right now, but with a lot of decks being more aware of Snorlax and how to play against it, people are now ready to counter this deck for when the matchup does arrive. Here's a look at the Snorlax Control deck that came in 4th place at the Liverpool Regionals this past weekend, played by Nicolaus Kristen. Really strong list, and of course, you're going to notice that there's 0 energies in this deck. Some Snorlax decks do have cards like Chayu and Crabominable with like 1 energy in there for those attacks, but this is a really streamlined control version of Snorlax. And then of course, we can't talk about Snorlax Control without mentioning the #1 player in the world right now, Calvin Connor, and his 10th place list from Charlotte Regionals. He is an absolute demon when it comes to Snorlax. On to lucky number 7. Number 7 is a Lost Box deck, and you can kind of fit in other Lost Box decks in this number 7 slot, but I want to say the best way to play Lost Box right now is with Sablezard, or the Radiant Charizard and Sableye. This first list I'm sharing with you guys here came in 5th place at the Charlotte Regionals, played by Alex Szymanski, one of the top players in the game, and it is a really amazing Sablezard list. If you've been wanting to play Sablezard for a while, play this list. It is the best way to play it in my opinion, and if you want to switch things up a little bit, Sablezard actually came in 3rd place at the Liverpool Regionals, played by Brennan Cameraman, using this list you're looking at right now, which doesn't just have Radiant Charizard as one of the main attackers along with Sableye. It also features a bunch of dark energies with Roaring Moon. So there's 2 ways to play it. Both of them are very strong, very consistent. On to number 6, we're going to be talking about my personal favorite deck in the game right now. You guessed it, if you're already a fan of the channel, Miraidon EX. And we have a very concise best way to play, I want to say, Turbo Miraidon at this point, and a really strong way to play Hybrid Miraidon. So first off, let's talk about Turbo Miraidon. This is a hit hard, hit fast type of deck. The list you're looking at here, played by Ryan Miller, came in 4th place at the Charlotte Regionals. And if you haven't seen the Charlotte, why do I say Charlotte? Is it Charlotte? Charlotte. If you want to see the Charlotte Pokemon Regional Tournament vlog, I just uploaded it on the channel, so I'll mention it later into the video. But yeah, check out the Charlotte Regional vlog if you haven't seen it yet already. The big thing to notice about this list is that it does have 2 copies of Iron Hands, 2 copies of Raichu. It has Drapion for the Mew counter, and it has 3 EXP shares and 1 VIP pass. Now, we have seen other Turbo Miraidons in the past play 2 VIP and then 2 EXP shares, and then they'll have Spiritomb as well. And so I did some more research upon this list, and Ryan Miller personally said themselves on Twitter that you might want to take out the Drapion and put in a Spiritomb, and you might want to take out the Beach Core and put in a Lost Vacuum. So some adjustments you might want to make. I also did play this list the exact 60 cards on a live stream last night, so if you want to go back and see how the games went with that, I'll leave my live stream link down below. And of course, we're doing a lot more live streams on the channel. We're actually giving away this right here the next time we go live. We got Sableye with the play stamp Hollow right here. And we're also going to give away a Meowscarada as well. So if you want to hang out during the live streams, feel free to subscribe and hop on by when we do those streams. And then the other way to play Miraidon that is super popular right now is the hybrid way, which features Tapu Koko EX for paralysis, and it also has copies of Path to the Peak in here, as well as Judge and Iono to have some disruption and ability lock against those tougher matchups like Charizard, like Mew in some cases, and just a lot of decks that do fall victim to Path to the Peak. It is very, very handy. So again, this is Nick Moffat's list that came in 5th place at the Portland Regionals. Number 5 is honestly a great deck to pivot to if you're a big fan of the way Turbo Miraidon plays, and I like to call this deck Dark Miraidon or Team Rocket's Miraidon. We're talking about Roaring Moon EX. This deck, honestly, I'm going to give this deck a lot of love this month, or at least for February. It's a deck that's rising in popularity. A lot of the players who played it at the Liverpool Regionals played Ross Cawthon's list, which we're going to have on screen right now. And I want to say it is the best way to play Roaring Moon EX. Now, some lists will opt to have some water energies in there for Radiant Greninja to be an attacker. Some will have a lightning energy in there to be able to use Iron Hands EX as an attacker. But Ross went for a very streamlined approach to Roaring Moon EX, only featuring dark energies, and Roaring Moon and Morpeko are your only attackers other than Galarian Moltres V. So it is super streamlined. It has proven itself to do amazing. Like, look at all these different players that use this exact 60 card list at Liverpool after Ross did amazing with it at Charlotte. That is a lot of really high placing players. Wow. And it was all done with this exact 60 card list. So I personally am going to start playing Roaring Moon going into February. I'm going to give Miraidon a little rest. You know, I love my Miraidon deck, but just the Charizard matchups are really rough, and I think just Roaring Moon is shaping up to become a force to be reckoned with. So we're going to give Dark Miraidon some love this month. On to deck number 4. Number 4 is the deck that actually just won the Liverpool Regional Tournament. We're talking about Mew VMAX DTE with a couple of fusion energies inside. This is the list that Fabrizio Ingasilva played to get first place at the Regional in Liverpool. It is a very standard, straightforward list for Mew VMAX DTE, but of course you have the fusion package with 2 Fusion Strike energies and 1 Elisa Sparkle in the list. One thing to note is that they have 3 Path to the Peak and not 4, and one cut that they did make for an extra box of disaster in the deck is they cut out one of the Cramomatics. So yeah, I already talked about it a bunch, but you guys know rotation is upon us very soon, and so if you want to play Mew VMAX, man, I don't want to tempt myself. I really don't. But after what happened in San Antonio, I disassembled my Mew VMAX deck. But after seeing Mew VMAX win the Liverpool Regionals, I am so tempted to put the deck back together again and give it one more hurrah. But let's get to the common question of the day. This is totally for fun, totally optional, no giveaway or anything like that. But I want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. Are you excited for Mew VMAX to rotate out, or are you sad that it is rotating out? And if you don't want to talk about Mew VMAX, maybe it's a sensitive topic for you, maybe it's controversial, let me know your favorite deck right now that you're going to be playing for the month of February, and then maybe one deck that you might give some love. Coming in at 3rd place for the month of February, we have Gardevoir EX. Not only did Gardevoir EX get 2 really nice shiny artworks in Paldean Fates, featuring the special illustration rare and of course the full art, but this deck is actually growing in popularity with the decline of Miraidon players and the rise of Roaring Moon players. Gardevoir is one of those decks that have a really straight, like a really great matchup across the board against like everything except for decks that run Iron Hands, because you know they have a lot of single prize attackers in that deck which can hit a lot of high numbers, and then of course they can always close out with Zacian. They can close out with Gardevoir EX, and of course they also have Screamtail in the decks as well to snipe those easy to feast on Squawkabillies on the bench. Here's a look at the highest placing Gardevoir EX deck from the Liverpool Regionals, placing 13th, and this was played by Rune Hersmans. Very straightforward VIP included Gardevoir EX list. You got 2 reversals in here. You got Zacian, you got Screamtail. There is also the Cresselia included as well. They don't have cards to protect themselves necessarily from the stall matchup like Professor Turo's Scenario or any switch cards for paralysis or of course the stall matchup. This list is just pure consistency at its finest. And now let's get to Tord Reklov's list, one of the best players, if not the best player in the Pokemon trading card game. Tord Reklov actually got 16th place at the Liverpool Regionals. Now the big differences I want to say between his list and Rune's is that Tord has 3 rare candies in his deck, and Rune does play 1 more copy of Artisan. And as time goes by, Miraidon's power level seems to be dipping, and so that is a great excuse to play Gardevoir if you're seeing less and less Miraidons in your area. On to number 2, our runner-up for best deck in the format right now is Charizard EX. Of course, we have the brand new beautiful artwork from Paldean Fates, which is the big chase card for a lot of people out there. I think it's the most expensive card in Paldean Fates. Charizard should not be a surprise for anybody at this point if you have been playing for at least the last couple of months. It is so strong, it is so good. The list you're looking at here came in 5th place at the Liverpool Regionals, played by Lawrence Van Brecht. I probably pronounced your name wrong, I apologize. And some big inclusions to note for this list is they do have 2 copies of Technical Machine Devolution, and they have 1 Choice Belt as their damage modifier of choice for the deck. Now, we have seen a lot of Charizards opt to use Choice Belt now instead of Vitality Band and Defiance Band, because Choice Belt allows Charizard players to go ahead and be aggressive and take the first prizes if their opponent is kind of playing slower and not taking prizes first. As a Miraidon player, we pretty much just have to scoop after you take your first prizes on our Raichu or a Raikou in the active. Now, this is the 5th place list, the highest placing Charizard list from Liverpool Regionals, but I want to give a quick mention here to the list that Caleb Rogerson played at Charlotte, North Carolina, getting 2nd place. And it also got 37th and 123rd, but also this list did really well at the Liverpool Regionals as well, taking up a bunch of placements in day 2. If my memory serves correct, Caleb Rogerson did not invent this list of Charizard. It was actually taken from Azul GG, so credits to Azul. And yeah, if you want to play Charizard, this is another really strong list to play. Either list that you play with is going to be really good, and I actually have my Charizard deck box in the back right there. I might have to join the dark side and pick up Charizard at some point. Now on to the number 1 deck, the best deck in format, at least without question for myself. You might disagree, and if you disagree, that's totally fine, but I think the best deck in the game right now is Giratina VSTAR. Giratina VSTAR just came in 2nd place at the most recent regional in Liverpool, and before that, it actually won back-to-back regionals before that. So it's a force to be reckoned with. Giratina is one of those decks that really rewards players that are very skilled, very well practiced. It is a deck that has amazing matchups across the board. Like, there's no deck that it plays against where it's like, oh, this is a bad matchup. That's probably one of the best reasons to play it, because you pretty much get to really control your own fate, your own destiny. It just comes down to those Lost Zone. It just comes down to the flower selecting and the choruses. How punishing are the cards going to be that you pick up that you have to throw away into the Lost Zone? That's going to be what defines or dictates your run as a player with this deck. And if you're really good and really well practiced with this deck, even those tough decisions you'll be able to get by and pop off with. I mean, after seeing Vinny take 1st place at Charlotte with this deck, even after prizing all their copies of Giratina in their deck to the prize cards and still winning it is insane to me. So yeah, this deck came in 2nd place. Here's Brent Tonnisson's list that came in 2nd at Liverpool. And of course, I have to show you guys Vinny Fernandez's list as well that came in 1st place. And Vinny actually just won another challenge today, his first tournament since playing in Charlotte. He went 5-0 with his exact same Giratina list from Charlotte Regional. Speaking of Charlotte Regionals, if you haven't seen my Charlotte Regionals vlog, you can click on screen right here to check that video out. And if you want to see my opening of Paldean Fates, the Elite Trainer box, you can click down here as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.